very beautiful evening, everyone. Satsang in the traditional sense is simply translated as sitting or being together in the light of truth or in the light of wisdom. This is obviously not my truth or my wisdom or your truth or your wisdom. It is something that we share, we explore together. By looking deeply into the core of our being, or the core of our awareness, or as we said last satsang, the core of our heart. All of these are synonyms. And when we look together into the core of our awareness, we find exactly the same. This is what is so astonishing about satsang. It is usually we have such a plural experience of life, right? Each one has his or her own unique perspective, experience of life, your own inner world, your special past, specific past, your own hopes for the future. And this is the only time when we peel these layers of differentiation by realizing that when we really look deeply into ourselves, we will find exactly the same. So beneath the layers of uniqueness, we share the very same sense of self, the very same awareness, the very same being. And if we are able to discover that in satsang, then we will discover that in trees, in mountains, in lakes, clouds, dogs, cats, you name it. Wherever you look, you realize that since you have been able to look into the core of yourself, you are now able to look into the core of everything else, or everyone else's self. And that is an exhilarating revelation. It puts an end to the sense of loneliness. It puts an end to the sense of separation. It is good and healthy to be an individual, but to a certain limit. From a certain limit, being an individual is just suffering. It becomes a forgetfulness and ignorance of who we are. So when we sit together here, and I'm so happy to be together as one, when we sit together for satsang, we fulfill the deepest sense of taking care of ourselves, of self-care, you see? Because self-care is not just making sure that we get a good massage from time to time, or that we go to nature, or that we eat well, or that we have, I don't know, enough relaxation time every day. When we think that we need to nourish ourselves, we need to take care of ourselves, to make sure that we have also considered ourselves, not only the environment, not only the society, not only our duties. Then self-care in the deepest sense is making sure that we know ourselves and that we are in touch of ourselves. That we have reached a certain intimacy with our own innermost heart. That we have not overlooked the most important question of life, which is, who am I? So let's take care of ourselves this evening. And I always feel that I need to remind this perhaps we no longer need this little helicopter. Yes? I hope you're okay with this. Yes? Because, yes, thank you. It has quite some presence. So, we are just experiencing now the breaking of a heat wave in Berlin. So the way we are going to do this is first by meditating together. We'll meditate in a way that already contains the topic of our talk. But it is important to say already at the beginning that it is not really so important what I'm going to talk about. Some talks are all about the teachings, about what is going to be said. Perhaps you even need a pen and paper, you see, and to make sure that you don't forget the significant message or the theory or the exact practice here that you are being given. But here, it is really not the issue. You don't need to remember anything. You don't need to follow the theory. It is just highlighting every time, every such evening, a certain aspect or gateway that leads to you. Therefore, this is just a meditation on yourself. We are taking everything that is being said, and we are using it as a mirror to look at ourselves. So instead of using the talk as a theory that will actually stand between you and yourself, use it as a direct meditation. So then I will give the talk after the meditation, and after the talk, we will be able to have enough time for questions and answers. Questions and answers can be about the talk, but they can also be just about anything, at least anything that is relevant to Satsang, because I might not be able to answer many questions. Good. So now let's sit for meditation. The way we are going to meditate, we are going to use the Buddha's first stages of mindfulness of breathing. So this is obviously a very old type of meditation, like many good meditations, and we will add to this a certain twist near the end of the meditation that will initiate our talk. So we'll close our eyes, and as we're sitting comfortably, we don't need to take care of any special position except for keeping our body erect, our chest open, perhaps even more open than usual by allowing our shoulders to fall backwards. And we'll start by following the Buddha's simplest instruction by becoming more and more mindful of our breathing. We'll use this thought, this statement to make sure that we are aware. So with every in-breath, we think, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And with every in-breath, out-breath, we'll think, breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Perhaps your breath is sometimes short or long. Don't try to change the way you breathe, even though naturally awareness of breathing begins to harmonize and calm down the breathing. So breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Feel how by knowing that you are breathing in and out, and not just doing this unconsciously, you are becoming more present and finding your ground in the present moment. Now enlarge your mindfulness by becoming aware of your whole body. Think, breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I am aware of my whole body. Feel how you're gradually making the body the breathing process and your awareness, one flow, one movement. Since you are aware of your in-breath and out-breath, and with it you are aware of your whole body. You begin to experience unity of body and mind. Breathing as a whole unit. And the more you're doing this, the more everything in the body and mind is at ease, in a state of increasing relaxation. And therefore now you are thinking, breathing in, I calm my whole body. Breathing out, I calm my whole body. This happens naturally. You're not really trying to calm the body. When the body, awareness, and breathing flow as one, everything is calming down. But now that you have been aware of your breathing, and then aware of your body, and then aware of both, try to see if you can just be aware. Not of your body in particular, not of your breathing, not of anything specific. It is as if you are almost aware of being aware. Try to allow this natural state of awareness. A completely effortless state of awareness. And if you even want to add, you can add breathing in, I know, I am aware. Breathing out, I know, I am aware. What is it like to just be aware? This doesn't mean that sounds don't enter your senses or thoughts don't enter your mind. It just means that you are not particularly focused on anything, but you're just resting inside your awareness. Very good. So now perhaps retaining this quality of awareness, you can slowly and gently open your eyes. So this is a very good starting point of our talk, because what we're doing right now was first that we started by following probably the most basic meditation in the history of meditation, which is mindfulness of breathing. There's nothing more grounding, more realistic to be simply one with the process of breathing, which is so natural and effortless and real, existing outside of our thoughts, our feelings, our projections. This is a key. It links us to reality. It links us to the present moment. It links us to life. Because anyway, breathing in and out is the way we are linked to life, right? Right? This is how I breathe in, I breathe out, I breathe in, I breathe out. And in this way, I'm dancing with life. I'm in communion with life. But I'm unaware of my communion with life. Therefore, I need to return to the most fundamental reality. This is something that the Buddha understood. And then he taught how to use this mindfulness of breathing to become mindful of many other things. So this is one thing. We started with this very fundamental meditation. And then we ended by saying, okay, but now let's not be aware, mindful of something, right? Because being mindful, I'm mindful of the trees, of my breathing, of my body. But what about just being mindful? Just being mindful with my whole attention, but without any specific anchor, any specific object. And the beautiful thing, the interesting thing is that this type of mindfulness, you can just for fun say the mindfulness, being mindful of being mindful, something like that. Just being aware, this is the essence of meditation. This is what we are going to speak about, to meditate on this evening. What is meditation? This can sound like a very basic question, but it is actually a very powerful thing to do. Just because we sometimes get into the habit of thinking that we already know about many types of meditation. Yes, meditation is transcendental meditation, vipassana, mindfulness of breathing, Sufi whirling, anything. But what is meditation really? What is it to be in meditation? So it does seem that there are so many types of meditation in the world, so many ways to meditate. But really, if we simplify the whole thing, we can talk about just two types of meditation. One is meditation in which we have a certain focus, right? I can focus on Om, on the elementary mantra Om. I can focus on breathing. I can focus on the light of a candle. I can focus on doing certain things, or on a certain thought, a certain mantra, a certain image. If you think about it, probably all the meditations in the world tell you to focus on one thing or another. Do this, do that, meditate on this, right? But then there is the meditation in which we focus on nothing. You can say that we focus on not focusing. Or we can call this unfocusing. It means to do the very opposite of focusing. Instead of keeping our mind very narrowly focused on one thing, we begin to allow it to to open up, to spread. So this is a very different state. Obviously, if I'm told to focus on Om is a fantastic thing, is indescribably fantastic. It is truly holy. But when I focus on Om or on whatever, what happens is that my mind goes in this direction, right? I focus on one thing. I begin to focus on Om, or I begin to focus on my breathing. I become very, very concentrated. I'm one with one thing. But when I take the different path of meditation, I really do the very opposite. I simply let go of my habit of focusing. This is what can sometimes be called as non-meditation. It is meditation, but it is non-meditation. It means that instead of doing something new, like focusing on Om, focusing on your breathing, focusing on anything, you focus on not doing certain things. This is very different. Pay attention, because it means that you focus on, you stop doing certain things that you usually do. You don't add something new. You don't get a mantra, you don't get anything. This is why it is called non-meditation. It is meditation, but it is not that you are meditating on something. It is so effortless, so open, so spacious. That actually, this is when you start to realize what meditation really is. Perhaps the closest to what we are talking about right now is what is sometimes taught as just be. Just be, right? Sometimes we hear teachers of meditation say, just be. But what does it mean to just be? So just being means that for some time I have no direction, absolutely no direction. I don't try to do this or do that. I'm just allowing the mind, the heart, to have absolutely no focus, no intention. And the amazing thing is that the most extraordinary things in life are discovered in this just being. So, non-meditation is actually the most essential meditation. We can actually say that there are many different techniques of meditation, but there is only one state of meditation. I don't know if you know transcendental meditation. This is more or less how I started my journey thousands of years ago. I'm joking, of course. Maybe yes, 25 years ago. And there was something very interesting, because we were taught transcendental meditation, and then you are given a mantra, and the mantra is something that you're meant to use, to chant inside your mind very effortlessly. You allow it to reverberate inside your mind, doing whatever it wants to do. And then there are moments in which the mantra disappears. It's as if the mantra has been a sort of a magnet, a sort of attractive force, alluring power that is meant to tempt you into silence, you see? So then when the mantra dissolves and there is just a state of awareness, this is when you're obviously not meant to bring back the mantra hysterically, because that would be quite self-defeating. And instead, you're just meant to be for a while. After some time, then the noise returns, and then you are meant, of course, to return to the mantra. But in those moments of spaciousness, you're not meant to use the mantra. You see? So now this is exactly the difference between technique. The mantra is a technique. It's a tool, right? You use the mantra, and then there is the state. The state without the mantra, or after the mantra has been dissolved, is the state of meditation. So we shouldn't confuse the two. There is many mantras, many candle lights, and many types of objects to focus on, but there is only one state of meditation. But because we often don't know how to go straight into the core of meditation, into the heart of meditation, what we do is we are given a certain transitory tool, you see? You are given something that will still use your habit of focusing on something. You are given an object. Take this, focus on it, and then at a certain point, you will not need it anymore. But it is very important to understand what the state of meditation is. And also that we can move straight into the state of meditation. And not just get stuck in chanting mantras, chanting Om, and focusing on mindfulness of while washing the dishes all the time, and so on and so on. That there is a point in which we need to understand, or it is time to understand what meditation is. And what is meditation? Meditation is this unfocused state, you see? It is when the mind, when your awareness has absolutely no particular focus. It is open, it is fully aware, but it is actually in a state of spreading, a state of opening up. So it is important to understand that if this is what meditation is, we should be very careful about all these types of meditations, right? Because we might get stuck. We might begin to become obsessed with certain things, certain techniques, but not get the whole point, because the whole point is to learn how to unfocus. How to be in this natural state. Now, what do we do all day long? We are actually obsessed with focus. This is what we do all day long, right? What we do is we all the time have our awareness narrowly focused on something. It can be on our emotions. It can be when we are completely focused on our work, right? When I need to use my awareness for a certain work. I need to dedicate this awareness and to put my attention on this object, which is sometimes very tiresome. And when I don't need to focus on my work, or I don't need to focus on a certain duty, then I begin to become focused on my thoughts, on my emotions. I am focused on past, or present, or future. Either I'm focused on the object of my memories, the object of my hopes for the future, my plans, my constant effort to make everything work well, to make everything, to settle all the problems, to resolve everything, to control the future. Or I'm focusing on present problems, on present situations, on my present challenges. And when I'm not focused on my thoughts and not focused on my duties or my work, I'm focused on my cell phone, right? And my cell phone is like a sort of hell of focusing, of over-focusing, because it keeps sending me notifications. It keeps calling my attention. Calling for my attention, demanding that I will pay attention to this message and to that, and to all this endless flow of information. Now, what happens is that by the end of each day, all I have done was just focusing on objects, right? Now, please understand, if there is anything that is a precious asset, it's the most precious asset of that we have, that we possess, it is our awareness. Awareness is an extraordinary gift. It is the most beautiful thing in the universe. Why? Because if you remove awareness from the universe, then you have black holes, you have supernovas, you have moon, and you have sun, and you have planets, but no one to be aware of all that. So what's the point, right? It all goes on, but nobody can witness that. So awareness is an exceptional thing. And just living our life unconsciously is almost like not living life at all, because we are not aware that we are of the fact that we are alive. You see? It's as if you live through this life, but you haven't been aware of the fact, I am alive. So we have become completely lost on focus in this over-focus on objects. At the end of the day, it's as if we have been dreaming all day long. We have been lost in so many objects and so many things to be aware of that we haven't spent a moment to do the most wonderful thing, which we can, this is self-care, which is to separate our awareness from the objects, you see? To take this awareness and to be with it in a natural state. Because you see, as soon as you do this, life becomes real. Because life can only be discovered through this awareness. Otherwise, it's just a flow. But without the one who is aware of this flow, who brings consciousness, and where there is consciousness, there is meaning, beauty, truth, and also love. So what happens is that every day we wake up and our awareness wakes up together with the objects. It's like it cannot be, it is inseparable. They go together. And because they go together always, we live our life as if it were a dream, you see? Now it's very important to say, I don't say that we are meant to stop focusing altogether. This is crazy, you see? You cannot stop focusing, but you cannot only focus. Otherwise, you don't know what meditation is. And then what happens is that if you enter meditation and again you focus on something, what have you done, you see? So now instead of focusing on your, I don't know, your messaging, you are focused on Om. So this is nicer, subtler, more holier, but it still keeps you obsessed and not aware of your awareness. Try to do this. This is just a fun word because it's not really doing, but to allow this, to allow your awareness. Although yes, right now of course you're listening to something, so again you are focusing. But just let one bit of your awareness go to that. Because anyway, this is the only thing I'm saying. You don't need to listen to anything. So just begin to allow this type of spreading. This is actually the greatest restfulness you can ever experience because our awareness is so wasted, is so drained, because it is not natural for awareness to be completely glued to life. There has to be some, it has its own life, its own energy. But we've become so obsessed with being aware of something, a thought, an emotion, a mantra, a duty, a memory, that we have learned to associate this with life. This is life. Life is to wake up and to be aware of things and to respond to these things. And so what happens when I tell you, okay, so stop focusing? You know what happens to most of us? We fall asleep. Why do we fall asleep? Because as soon as our mind hears, don't focus on anything, so, oh, okay, so you mean sleep, right? Because sleep is the time. Why is sleep so rejuvenating? Because we are giving our awareness a break, you see. It can now rest inside itself. It doesn't need to be aware all the time of something. And so this is one thing, right? I think that when I don't need to be aware of something, I simply fall asleep. Or I think that when I'm not aware of something, then all that's left to do is just to allow my attention to be completely scattered, right? To start sinking. It's because you don't need to make an effort. So you are beginning to enter a sort of a vague state, unfocused. So we only know these extremes. Focus like this, focus on something, or sleep, or being completely scattered and vague. All this is obviously not meditation or non-meditation. Non-meditation is when I allow my awareness to rest inside itself, to open up, to spread, to have no narrow attention, but to become just mindful. That's it. Now, you are all the time aware, right? If awareness is, imagine it like a huge source of light with which we illuminate everything, right? Awareness is light, not in some mystical sense. Awareness is light. It's like right now you are aware of the tree. When you are aware of the tree, you are feeling it, you are giving it the light of your attention, and then it becomes illuminated. It becomes noticeable, right? This is what happens with your thoughts. You give them the light of your awareness, and here they are. They become noticeable. They become existent. right now, because you are giving attention to what I say, this becomes noticeable. With the light of your attention, this becomes existent. So your awareness is the light that makes everything real, or when you ignore it, it just disappears, right? So what happens when you just begin to become aware of this light and don't waste it on anything? Not the tree, not a thought, and not what I say. So obviously this is not a state of scatteredness or vagueness, right? It is actually a state that is very awake. It is like being fully awake, but not in relation to something. It's just being awake, just being awake. And this is a state of great energy, great presence. Definitely not like falling asleep. It is like being fully awake. This is the thing. And again, let's make sure, I don't say that this is how we're meant to be all day long. Of course, until at a certain point it becomes, we learn how to have no focus, how to be completely unfocused, even while focusing on many things. You see, this is already when meditation becomes our life. But before that, it's making sure from time to time, after so much focus, being in a state of non-meditation. Take even 5 minutes. Just be in a state of non-meditation, which means I don't have to focus on the past. I don't have to focus on the future. I don't need to focus on the present. I don't need to focus on my issues, and not even on my breathing or anything. What happens then is that you feel suddenly how the boundaries of your mind, the boundaries of your attention, they begin to dissolve. It's like you are becoming wider, you see? Because again, attention is usually, awareness is a vast thing, but then when it is focused, it becomes so small, like a concentrated energy. Let it open up. And there you are. This is meditation, you see? This is where we really start meditating. It means meditation is allowing awareness to be in a natural state. Now, this is the thing, because you might say, yes, but what will I do when the mind begins to focus on certain things? I try to meditate, I try to non-meditate, and then I'm starting to become again obsessed, because the habit is you always have to focus on one object, always. Give me something to focus on, otherwise I'm not alive. But then, at that moment, when you notice this habit returning, just whisper to yourself, allow yourself to tell yourself, I don't have to focus right now. What happens when I don't focus? So it's like untraining. Remember what we said at the beginning. In non-meditation, you learn how to stop doing certain things that you do. It's not how to do something new. And it is so rejuvenating. It is like a complete renewal, because you allow your awareness to rest, to not be wasted. And yes, it is like, in a way, like feeling that you are emptying yourself, because in a way you let go of all your focusing. We experience ourselves through these objects, and so there is a sort of airiness and spaciousness, but there is also a sense of fullness, because in this type of open awareness, life begins to be discovered. Not just your life, not a specific part that we define as life, but life as a big phenomena, as a total phenomena. Life as a whole is what we're missing, you see? Because life is not just what we do, right? In a particular period of 70, 80, 90 years, if we're lucky. I don't know if this means being lucky, but but usually we define life in such a narrow way, but we have this intuition that life is a huge thing, right? Of which we are just a part. So life is the trees and the clouds and all the animals and all of humanity and all past and present and future. It's the whole thing. But we cannot get in touch with this huge thing if we are so focused, if we are so narrowly focused on just certain objects every given moment of the day. Don't worry, I will answer questions very soon. So it is both, it is a relief, it is a renewal, but it is also a discovery. Because what meditation is the spreading of awareness, you see? Meditation is all about this awareness that has been wasted so much on just focusing all day long, now begins to spread. And when it spreads, perhaps it doesn't have an edge, perhaps it doesn't have a limit, perhaps it doesn't stop in the skull, and it is even an infinite thing, or boundless. So if it's all the time focused on past, present, future, it is also bound to time, right? But only the way we focus on certain thoughts and emotions creates the sense of time. There is no need for the sense of time. Of course, now I am aware of the time, you see. I know that very soon I need to answer questions, otherwise I will disappoint many people, but there is a difference between being aware of the sense of time and being bound to time. Being bound to time means that my awareness doesn't know just to be without any time-related object. It doesn't know how to pause, how to be independent. So try to do this from time to time. If you are meditating, challenge your habit of meditation. And see if you can start non-meditating. which is just being aware of the habit of focusing, and very gently letting go of it, gently letting go of it, gently letting go of it. And seeing what it means to be just aware of being aware, or just focusing or non-focusing. Let's not conceptualize that. So, so let's see if there are any questions. Yes.
So I have a question. So the source of normally the source of the awareness is a me, like a construction, the limited location, and therefore we create and doing separation. And in the meditation, if we are in the meditation, we don't have the center anymore, the center of me, and therefore the awareness is spreading completely into this infinite presence.
Yes.
Which is always there.
Yes.
But we cannot see it because we are always busy
yes.
in our minds.
Yes.
As I say, in my mind, the first problem. Because I say my mind. So
yes.
This is the place where already the identification is happened. And therefore, I'm already doing something in this sense as me, as focusing on one object.
Yes.
But if I try, like from this location to do nothing, I'm still doing something. Yeah. So for me, actually, it has nothing to do with doing. But so it's probably that what you said, that is getting rid of doing, of this doership. And dealing with something.
Okay.
So I'm asking myself.
Yes.
How do you mean to become? You mentioned somehow to become, because I think this word "become" is one of the big problems.
Yes.
we have.
So yes.
We always want to become, or want to go, or want to deal, or.
Yes. Okay. So you are describing the problem that anything that I might do, even when I try to unfocus, for instance, that this is still in a way an activity of the self, the center of action, the center of doing, and therefore this in a way enhances the problem, right? This is more or less what we want to understand. So first of all, we need to understand that if we want to use this term, the self is the focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
The self is the focus. Remove the focus, and there is no self. That is. It needs to be understood. It's not that the self is focusing, but that the self, the very sense of center, is the fact that there is so much concentration in the awareness. Okay, so when there is a loosening of focus, there is also a loosening of the sense of self. But then you ask, so anything that I do enhances the self.
Still a question to this point.
Sorry?
It's not really clear for me.
Yes.
Because thoughts?
With focusing.
With thoughts.
With focusing. This is called focusing. With thoughts, or with emotions, or with trees. It doesn't matter.
So there is a difference between you have constant flow of like really building up capacity to stay in one place, or have like many thoughts coming and going and coming and going. I think there is a difference.
No, it's the same.
You think so?
Yes, it's the same. It's focusing. It's having a certain object of attention. It doesn't matter if it's beautiful or silly.
No, this is not what I mean. I mean, I think there's a difference between if you this is right. So I'm still in the place of me and one object. This
Yes.
is true. But I think this can be a good door. Like if you really focus and concentrate and stay in this place, it's not you have no meditation. You're just focusing. This is true. But it can be a very good door to open and to release this.
Yes.
So this is my question.
Yes, but because of course I need to answer more people, I will just try to answer the first thing that you were pointing out, and this is that if I come and say, okay, then I cannot unfocus because any type of doing, even this type, only enhances the self, then I'm in big trouble because I actually cannot do anything. Now I don't think that this is how unfortunate we are. You see, as awareness, I think that awareness also has the capacity to liberate itself, and that it has a sort of intelligent action that is beyond the self. So if I tell myself, well, even the thought, even wanting to unfocus will get me into trouble, then what will I do? I just can't do anything. So I cannot do and I cannot undo, and I cannot inquire because any inquiry is reveals a motivation which is of the self and so on. So if I start entering this type of inquiry, I'm quite lost, I think. I think we have a certain power that we must use, you see? So if I have this intelligent action, for instance, I sit for meditation, what I love doing every now and then is when I sit in bed, and then there is this whole full day of past and future, you see, of what I've been all day for people, what I've been all day in my activities, in my duties, and so on, and also the future, the plans for tomorrow, for 10 years from now, all the big plans and so on. And then what I do is that I simply let it all die, you see. Why is it possible to let it all die? Because these are just images in the mind. My entire past, present, future is only images in the mind. So it's very easy to let go. You cannot let go of the past, you see. Past is a huge thing, but you can let go of a picture inside your head, right? Right? So that is very easy, but then you let go of the picture inside your head. Otherwise, how can you get in touch with truth? So then if I say, but how can I let go of the picture if this is who lets go of the picture, then I'm in trouble because I cannot do anything anymore. And I have to let go. It is a very gentle action. It is an intelligent, the higher activity that comes from our subtle or very subtle mind. It is the sword of love that we have been given as awareness to cut the threads, you see, and to liberate ourselves. Yes. I'm sorry that I cannot answer because it is very engaging, but I have to focus. Yes.
A question from Kerstin.
Yes, Kerstin.
In non-meditation, I am always aware of the looker. When I close my eyes, I defocus immediately. I am aware of the subtle body, chakras, direction of energy flows, and so on. It feels like opening up and expanding. And I have an inner screen in my head. During expansion, inner pictures show up. And I am not sure if it is good that something inside me is always the observer. There is always a looker, and I wonder if I can stop looking. Is it possible? The defocusing always ends up in a final picture. A huge eye in the universe shows up and is looking at the looker. The looker looks at universal consciousness, and consciousness is looking back to the looker.
Okay.
And that feels endless. No change, that's it. That is my natural way of non-meditation, but I must say, I have the feeling it leads to nowhere. Everything is always completely neutral. In meditation, I never felt something like bliss. Is it wrong? Is it okay? What else can I do?
I'm asked thousands of questions by each questioner, so it's this is an interesting situation. I need to focus, and we need to focus somehow. Can you just read the beginning, because I was already so immersed in the second half.
In non-meditation, I am always aware of the looker. When I close my eyes, I defocus immediately. I am aware of the subtle body, chakras, direction of energy flows, and so on. It feels like open up and expanding. And I have an inner screen in my head. During expansion, inner pictures show up. I am not quite sure if it is good that something inside me is always the observer. There is always a looker. I wonder if I can stop looking. Is it possible?
Okay. And there was, the looker was looking at what? There was some, no, the second part, there was some kind of a mutual two-directional looking, like the looker was looking at.
The focusing always ends up in a final picture, a huge eye in the universe.
I like I.
I like this.
Yes. Okay.
And the universe shows up and is looking at the looker.
Okay.
The looker looks at.
Okay. That's it. Thank you. What is this looker made of? This is the question. What is it made of? You say there is an eye, that there is some kind of a cosmic eye, but of course this is just a metaphor. It represents some kind of a greater consciousness, something that is like an ocean of consciousness. And then there is the looker. The looker is not a problem. It is one drop of the ocean. You see? The looker is a drop. It is made of the very same ocean of consciousness, this cosmic consciousness, this cosmic awareness. When you begin to realize that, why does the looker have limits or boundaries? It's made of the same substance. Then it begins to melt. There is no point in keeping it separate, keeping it distinguished, if it is made of the same material. Why separate drop from an ocean, you see? Is the drop different, really? Now, this is where bliss begins, you see? Because until then, there is just a detachment or neutrality or silence or whatever, maybe a basic freedom, but there is still not bliss. The bliss is the celebration of the drop, not needing to be a drop anymore. The bliss is when I look into this so-called separate awareness, and I ask myself, okay, so where does it begin? Where does it end? Does it have its own independent existence, or is it a part of a greater consciousness, a greater awareness? So the bliss is the drop dissolving into the ocean. Just look, not into the looker, just being aware of it, but ask yourself gently, lovingly, what is it made of? Is it really separate from that eye that looks at it? From the universe? From the tree at which it looks? Is it really some detached witness, some detached awareness? It is not, you see. There is the Mahamudra meditation of the great yogi Tilopa. This comes from the Vajrayana tradition. It's in Tantric Buddhism, and a part of Tilopa's instructions is to look at the mind with the mind. You see, it's just looking into the mind, and then beginning to ask myself. This is non-meditation, of course, what Tilopa suggests, and he even uses this term. So, does this mind have a color? Does this mind have a shape? Does this mind have a beginning? Does this mind have an end? And so on and so on. And with this type of questioning, your so-called mind begins to simply lose boundaries. It begins to open up. This is the thing. And when it expands, this is bliss.
A question from Margarete.
Yes. Hello.
How to get rid of the seemingly selfless ego, the one which keeps hiding in victimhood?
That's it? Just 2 sentences. That's new. Okay, so please read it again.
How to get rid of the seemingly selfless ego, the one which keeps hiding in victimhood?
Seemingly selfless ego that keeps hiding in victimhood. I guess that you mean by asking that about the ego that seems nicer or more just or more right. The ego that is not ruthless or violent or arrogant or ambitious, but actually looks very poor, right? And very gentle and delicate and hypersensitive and And what is the question? How to what?
How to get rid?
How to get rid of it.
Yes.
First of all, I don't know this language of getting rid of things, because getting rid of egos because it is not about entering a sort of war in which I'm trying to eliminate something. In this way, I'm just developing a new ego, right? So then there is the ruthless ego, the pitiful ego, and the ego that wants to kill them both, and so on and so on. Then there is the one that wants to kill the new ego that has been developed, and this is a sort of endless chain. And we have enough of that in the world, right? Of people wanting to kill other people. So we don't need to create a battlefield of our own, right? So if I want peace, this is definitely not the way. Peace comes about by understanding. Egos do not dissolve, they are understood, simply understood. When I look into an ego and I see what it is made of, what the source of confusion is, and more importantly, far more importantly than the ego itself, is why am I holding on to this ego? Why do I identify with it? Why do I choose it? Because no thought, no emotion, no self-image, no ego, for that matter, have their own independent existence. Very often, when I say, how do I get rid of something, this means that it has its own presence, and then now I need to try to do this, but I've created it. I am the creator. I'm not, if we're talking about victimhood, I'm not a victim of my thoughts and emotions and egos and memories. Even a memory that we say, the memory keeps hunting me. I cannot get rid of the memory. Why does it have to keep returning? This annoying memory. Leave me alone. I want to be free. I want to be enlightened. This is a joke. This is fooling myself, because I hold on to the memory, not the memory holds on to me. And memories cannot hold on to you. They don't have the power to do that, you see? And in fact, there is not even a single pattern, a single thought, a single emotion, a single ego that can do that. They just don't have the power. You, through your awareness, give this the power, you see? Remember what we said during the talk. You are the light. Not in a mystical Christian way. You are the light, unless we understand what Jesus said in other ways. You are the light. You are the awareness that illumines the world. And when you give something attention and you give it reality, it becomes real. So if I decide to give a certain memory reality, it becomes real. And then what happens is that it doesn't let go of me, and then I become a victim of that memory. And then this is a loop of self-deception. So if you want to get rid of victimhood, start with this, you see, with noticing how we are imagining that we are the victims of this ego, of victimhood. And that we have somehow fallen into the hands of some vicious ego that wouldn't let us go, right? There is no such thing in the world. So then ask yourself, what is my interest in keeping this ego? Why do I want it there? What does it give me? How does it protect me? How does it help me to perhaps create a certain persona, a social personality? Maybe people pity me. Maybe people don't demand so much from me when they see that I'm in such a state of victimhood. I'm so powerless. What can I do? All this, I'm not saying that these are your motives. I'm just saying, check it through the wisdom eye of your awareness. See with burning honesty why you wouldn't let go of this ego. You see? So when I come and say, I want to understand why I don't want to let go of the memory, your whole relationship with the memory has changed, you see? That's it, you have become mature. This is your doing. And because this is your doing, this can also be your undoing. And how do I undo? By understanding. Now I'm torn. I have too many options, and this is the last question. Well, since you were the first to raise your hand, so please.
Short question.
There are no short questions. We can never predict the length of the answer, you see. Yes.
Well, you just mentioned it. I have it very often that I fall asleep when I meditate.
You fall asleep when you meditate?
Yes. And actually, I love also when I go sleeping this moment, just before I fall asleep.
Yes.
But it's kind of like also like this magnetism that kind of, then also when you meditate just before I was for a few seconds, I was awake. And I have it quite often when I have these online meetings. In the beginning, there's the meditation and then sleep the whole time. I wake up and everything is over. So, what does it mean? I mean, I have a lot of sleep. It's a
Yes.
bit that I don't think that I have too much. That I don't have enough sleep. But I would like to know, kind of, do I have to work on it, or is something that is okay when I'm still then when I then sleep? Am I still there? Or actually, it's also why I really like the Osho meditations, because then I'm kind of active, because this is kind of not happening to me. So.
Okay, so you're saying that you have this tendency to fall asleep in meditation, right?
When I have this unfocused.
When you have this,
yeah.
you are. As we said before, we tend to associate, our mind tends to associate unfocusing with the state of deep sleep, with the state of letting go. So, well, there are at least several dimensions. The first dimension is that this type of sleep has its significance. It has its beauty. When we fall asleep in meditation, it is usually a different type of sleep, because it does have this frequency of the meditation, you see? It has a certain quality, so we don't need to condemn ourselves in this sense. We don't need to think why again, and so on and so on. This is how it is happening right now. On the other hand, there is a certain threshold that needs to be crossed, you see? Because what happens is that whenever we get in touch with a new level, a higher level of meditation, we usually fall asleep. Or for some of us, we experience resistances or great fears and so on and so on. There is a sort of contraction. So very often we tend to think that this is a sort of resistance in the usual sense, but this is actually adjustment. Our nervous system, our mind, they simply don't recognize this state. So when they don't recognize this state, they either turn off or they contract because they just cannot contain it. These are two optional reactions. Now the thing is that this is an indication that something is waiting around the corner, you see, or waiting on the other side. But then the sleep is an indication of being incapable of containing something new, something that is greater. The whole thing of meditation is learning how to be awake in the state of deep sleep. This is the basic, let's say, the deepest meaning of meditation, because we don't know how to penetrate this dimension. There is a certain dimension of our being in which that in order to penetrate it, we must fall asleep fully, lose complete consciousness in order to be there. This state of this sleep is what we try to enter consciously in the state of meditation, you see? Which means that we want to be awake in the state of deep sleep. This is what is said about the yogi. The yogi is awake when everyone else is asleep, you see? This is the deepest meaning. And also, by the way, the yogi is asleep when everyone else is awake. Do you understand? It means also that while everyone is so busy in daily life, in the waking state, focusing on objects and so on, losing themselves in the world and being so frantic and hysterical about it, the yogi remains asleep inside the yogi's heart. You see that there is sleep, there is restfulness, there is non-attachment. You see? So this is beautiful. So when you are entering this, I would then say, okay, so today I slept in this meditation or in this talk. Now if I have it recorded, let's do it again. Let's do it again until I'm awake in this, you see? Because then there is a conscious choice to enter this new thing. Now it's not about achieving, or it's about simply realizing that this is what your heart wants, what your heart yearns for, and it is to be awake. Right? So then if I do the very same meditation or listen to the very same process, and I make sure and I see if this time I can contain it, I can be there, then a breakthrough is made. Okay? Good. Probably there are dozens of questions left, but well, I think we've we've also heard a lot, and there is much to let in. So let us just close our eyes now together and either fall asleep or be awake for really, it's good to take that very lightly. So closing our eyes, and seeing whether after this talk, which is focused or non-focusing, whether the quality of the mind has somehow changed or been affected by insight. While being in this state, ask yourself, does awareness have an edge, a limit? A beginning or an end? Very good. I'm very grateful for this wonderful participation and the very helpful questions, very sincere. Thank you so much. Good night.